Circle. Yay! I don't know about you, but I think I need it this week, right? A time for refreshing. We welcome everyone that's here joining us in the building, and we welcome all of you that are also joining us via the internet. Isn't that an awesome thing now that we can reach people all over the world? So that's exciting. Today we begin our VIA Positivity theme of Oh, the Humanity. In this VIA, we'll talk about our commonalities as humans, that original blessing that we can carry all within. Sometimes we forget that, yes, we are all humans, even those that we struggle with. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Ben, take it away.
Woohoo! Who are we? CC and the recalcitrant.
Minus a few calcitrants.
We are going together in a sacred place. We are now in a sacred place. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We are going to a sacred place. We are now in sacred place. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We are going in sacred place. We are now in sacred space. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We are going to sacred place. We are now in sacred place. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you.
Oh, yeah, that sounded great. At each Jubilee Circle, we open our worship by calling the four directions. This is an ancient ritual used to declare a time and a space as sacred. So if everybody will join me, if you'll stand, and let's face the east. Awaken us, Holy One, to the wonder all around us. Give us new eyes so that we can truly see all the beauty of this world and everyone in it, even the beauty in things that the world calls ugly. We know, Holy One, that you have created it all and called it blessed. Teach us to bless everything we see in this wonderful world. A quarter turn to the right, and we'll face the south. Teach us, Holy One, to walk the path that you have set before us. Give us the knowledge that through the path, that even though the path is often rough and lonely, that you walk right beside us. Teach us how to stop and admire the wonderful creation all around us. The blue sky, the sunshine, the rain, the wind, the smallest flower, and the tallest tree. Teach us to appreciate everything along our path. Quarter turn to the right and we face the west. Guide us, Holy One. Order our steps so that we may keep you up. Let's try that again. Order our steps so that we may keep up with your calling to us. Open our hearts to those around us so that we may hear and respond to the calls for love and mercy all around us. Teach us to be your teachers of love and compassion in this hurting and angry world. Quarter turn to the right and we face the north. Help us, Holy One, to watch out for one another, to hold hands and guide each other when the traffic of life becomes thick and dangerous. Help us to remember to clean up our own mess and to say we're sorry when we hurt others. Help us to overcome our own arrogance and truly come to a place of compassion for all living creatures. Turn back to the center. Check out all those holy students. We're all just a bunch of overgrown children, and we often forget to do basic things like washing our hands, playing fair, or flushing. Yet, despite all our troubles and troublemaking, God loves us just the same. And whenever life pushes us down on the playground or picks us last for the latest game, the Holy stands with us, ready to pick us up, dust us off, forgive the nasty thoughts that we thought about others, and send us back into life's game, ready to spread God's love and compassion and to teach everyone we meet how to truly say, oh yeah. All right, during this next song, it's our time to fellowship with each other. So greet a fellow person here and give them a hug and a high five.
There is no political solution to our troubled evolution. Have no faith in Constitution. There is no bloody revolution. We are spirits in the material world. Our 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 so-called leaders speak with words they try to jail ya. They subjugate the meek, but it's the rhetoric of failure. We are spirits in the material world. Our spirits in the material world. Our spirits in the material world. Our spirits in the material world. Thirsty and so light,
The band is sounding awesome.
Thank you very much.
And welcome again to all of those that are attending today. We invite you, if you would like, if you're not on the email list, to leave your name and email. We have a station set up over where the books are over there or at the prayer station, either one. Leave us your email, and we'd love to let you stay up to date with what's going on here, because we are a busy, busy place now. Speaking of the prayer table, we've started a new prayer board over there. So anytime during the service, before the service, if you'd like to go and light a candle for prayer, there's post-it notes that you can put it up on the board. I can tell you, for one, a prayer was answered in 3 days for me. So I think the releasing it, by writing it and putting it on the board, we're not looking for something magical. Well, maybe we are. But we don't expect God to be a vending machine that we put it in and it automatically pops out. But I think by releasing it, then it was out of my hands and I put it totally in His. And so within 3 days, that prayer was answered. So think about it and add something to the board. We also have now started a wall of innocence over on this side. And there's not but 3 people that are innocent in this place, I guess. There's not but about 3 or 4 pictures up there. So I guess we're the only ones that are innocent. Not arrogant, no, not a bit. Just innocent. So, yes, again, we are Jubilee Circle. We are an inclusive, progressive, interfaith community in Columbia, South Carolina, that teaches the timeless common wisdom of love and unity that's found in all mainstream religions, metaphysical philosophies, mysticism, and inspired secular and religious writers and teachers throughout the ages. Through popular music, as you heard today, teaching, weekly celebrations, educational and artistic events, and other community building activities, I told you we are busy. We seek to create a space for everyone to experience transformation so that they can go out and transform the world. We believe we are all here to expand our souls and to find a deeper meaning of life, renew our commitment to love, peace, justice, and how to love wastefully, undergoing a transformation from inside out to discover how to live into our higher divine self. We also recognize that we are all God's good creation, formed in love and joy. We humans often forget that, believing instead that we are lost in a world of paradox where we encounter others as both beautiful and ugly, good and bad, generous and stingy, and loving and
recalcitrant.
Yes, or fractious.
I haven't heard that one.
Yes, or just wayward.
Untoward.
Yes. Let us remember that our function here, Jubilants, is to continually return to the home we have never left while we embody and be an open channel for the love that created us. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to try to keep these announcements short and sweet, but we do have a lot of things going on. Next Sunday, we'll continue our the Humanity in this VIA, as we'll talk about the commonalities as humans, the original blessings that we all carry within. So stay tuned next week. We want you to come back. On Friday the 8th at 6:30, it's time to play improv games. If you like Whose Line Is It Anyway, you'll be at the right spot to come here. We need players and just watchers. So if you want to come and just watch and get your laugh for the day, we do get silly. So you'd have fun even just watching or playing. So bring your sense of humor and come and play. Next Sunday, we have Soundy School at 10:30. Trish, tell us just a little bit about it. Come on. Because a lot of people may not know exactly what that is.
Sunday school is looking at how vibrations, our bodies all have vibrations, and using different musical instruments to feel and sense those vibrations. We've got the 7 chakra bowls and chimes and gongs and drums and a whole host of other instruments. So.
Awesome. So if you haven't experienced it, come next week at 10:30 and try something different. Try something a little new. On Wednesday nights, we have an awesome discussion group on A Course of Miracles. I know for me personally, I was attending the Jubilee for quite a number of years before I even started reading the course. And it is interesting, and it does help to have a group to discuss all of this. We're very laid back. It's an easy group. There's no pressure. You can come and talk, or you can come and listen. So come and join us on Wednesday nights at 7:30 here, and we would love to have you to learn. Matter of fact, Lee leads the group. So Lee, come, and before he does the scripture reading, I want him to share what brought him to Jubilee. Come on, Lee.
And we also have one more event after Lee.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
Jim
She didn't
Giselle.
have it down. She didn't have it down. On Friday, July 1st at 7 o'clock, but food will start serving at 6:30. We're going to have another open mic night, and this will feature, help me out, Leslie.
The Moonwalkers, Jim
Woohoo!
Giselle and Corinne Reed.
The Moon Dancers.
The Moon
Oh,
Dancers.
dancers, sorry.
Yeah, Moon
They-
Dancers.
Yeah,
Sorry, Jim and Corinne.
Not the
yeah,
walkers.
they move a little bit faster than the walk. They do the dance. Okay.
don't
We
walk
don't have to
backwards.
go to the moon to watch them.
And matter of fact, you can come and help join in their celebration because Jim and Corinne actually met each other at open mic. I think it was 3 years ago. And now the wedding bells are chiming in November. So come and enjoy a night. We're going to have hot dogs and I don't know what else, but we'll have some food here at 6:30. So, yeah, now, Lee, it's your turn.
I think you can do protest songs for this July 1st one. Oh, is it? But if you want to do something else, you can.
Yeah, Candace said you could protest and not do a protest song if you
Or
wanted
you can
to.
do poems.
All right, I'm Lee McEacher, and I do kind of not necessarily lead. I don't know. I co-sponsor the Course of Miracles discussion group on every Wednesday.
He's also president of Jubilee.
Yeah,
President.
it's a wonderful thing to serve here. I love this group, and I was asked to say what brought me here, and yeah, well, that's true. It was my Ford Mustang, said Bob. But what you'd said earlier is kind of like I felt like I'd found a home that I'd never left. So yeah, it was been coming here pretty steady for 3 years. During COVID, I was like the only person in the audience for like a year and a half. So yeah. So just a good connection. This group seems to connect inwardly, and when helps me connect inwardly, and it's just a wonderful feeling. So these are the readings. I've got 2 readings. This first one's from Graham Harvey. It says, gifts are given and received not only by humans, but also by trees, forests, rivers, seas, and all other living persons, communities, and or domains. And this one comes from the next one comes from Aldo Leopold, father of wildlife ecology and the American wilderness system. And he says, only the mountain has lived long enough to listen objectively to the howl of a wolf.
These are wise and holy words. Thanks be to the holy. All creation is holy word, and all creation speaks volume of the holy. Hallelujah. Okay, I got to get to the bowl, but I don't have a mic. Or somebody else ring. Where did Michael go? You'll do it, Trish? All right, Trish is going to do our singing bowl while I'm up here at the mic.
Thank you,
So,
Trish.
during this time of contemplation, think about, oh, the humanity. Have you felt this week like the world has turned upside down? Are you finding yourself on the opposite side of the fence of friends, coworkers, and maybe even family members? During this time of contemplation, let's put the issues aside and focus on being willing to open our hearts to those around us so that we may hear and respond to the call for love and mercy all around us. Being willing is the first step. Yeah, we don't have Candace here today. No, I'm too bright to be Candace today. I don't think she'd ever wear something quite this bright.
Sparkling personality.
Yeah, not quite this bright. Yesterday was Candace's birthday.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday. I think we all should sing happy birthday to her on this day.
I think we should too. So everybody find your singing voice, whether it's just a croak or whatever. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Candace. Happy birthday to you. We love you, Candace, and we hope you're having a great time on your vacation. She and Beth took off and went to Florida, and they're having just a really nice time and a good getaway. So we've got this covered, so we're all right. And I'm Julie Buckley, and I'm your host for today. But the speaker today is not me. Holli Emore is Executive Director of Cherry Hill Seminary. She served on the Board of Directors for Interfaith Partners of South Carolina for more than 10 years and was the first regional lead for disaster spiritual care for the American Red Cross in South Carolina. Yeah, for here in South Carolina. She often teaches public groups about the rapidly growing pagan religions and has served as a regional resource for law enforcement, victim services, and others since 2004. And she is an experienced presenter, frequently appearing as a guest speaker, panelist, and occasionally, like today, a supply pastor. Holli is the princess of the Temple Osirian. Did I say it close? A contemporary pagan tradition which draws inspiration from the religions of ancient Egypt. Let's welcome her today.
Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be. Is this? Okay. Will this work? I do love it. So, once upon a time, humans lived in harmony with the world. We don't know exactly what they thought or felt. That's why they call it prehistory, right? But they had to see themselves as part of the whole, or they would soon be eaten. Even after agriculture became a thing, humans still saw the land, the water, the air, and everything around them as indivisible. But it appears that somewhere along the way, humans increasingly saw themselves as individual, that is, divided from everything else. Once upon a later time, European gentlemen studying primitive cultures coined the term animist to describe someone who believes that everything is alive and perhaps even sentient. The word animism came to be strongly associated with judgments such as ignorant, uneducated, unchristian, pagan, savage, and so forth. And about the same time, 18th and 19th century Europeans became disenchanted with how the Industrial Revolution was changing their society and even their countryside. Rural landscapes began to be romanticized as better, even more spiritual settings than cities. There's no question they were cleaner. And an area of scholarship took hold, that of folklore studies. Intrepid travelers eagerly sought out the common folks around Europe and indigenous people in faraway lands, hoping they could preserve traditional lore for posterity, even though they tended to feel superior to those they studied. Of the many things they discovered, one of the most striking was the practice of local forms of magic, or even a lack of any apparent religion at all, such as those Tahiti natives painted by Paul Gauguin that I showed the picture of when I was here. Now, some people blended this new awareness of folklore with esoteric teachings which had been around for many centuries. Out of this mix of social change, encounters with other cultures, and alarm over the effects of modernity came the early 20th century phenomenon of witchcraft. Don't confuse this with the mythologizing of black Sabbaths or even with some harmful witchcraft practiced by some in other countries today. That's not what I mean. Contemporary paganism, which includes Wicca and many other varieties of earth-centered spiritualities, has been called the re-enchantment of the world. Most pagans are genuine nature lovers and prefer to hold their rituals outdoors. Once Wicca hit the U.S., it became pretty enmeshed with the rise of feminism and environmentalism. Soon Wicca was followed by a flourishing of many other pagan traditions, like heathenry, druidry, and lots more. But today, our country and the entire planet finds itself contemplating the very real possibility of human extinction, thanks to the inconvenient truth of our persistent degrading of the earth. Meanwhile, we relish the poignance of an Indian hunting scene with Daniel Day-Lewis in the film Last of the Mohicans. Remember that one? We shrug with a feeling of helplessness when the governor's office announces the good news of a lot of new jobs coming to our state or a new interstate exchange, but then uses eminent domain to destroy our wetlands or even a whole neighborhood or farms. When increased ferocity of hurricanes batters our beautiful beaches, fires gobble up our mountain forests, and drought scorches crops around the state, we grapple with a loss of hope. Them and us. Descartes reduced us to little more than mind. He said, I think, therefore I am. The ghost in the machine was what counted, and only humans had a ghost in our machines. So we were at the top of nature's hierarchy. Then the philosopher Spinoza came along. He said, I'm not having any of that. He proposed a pantheism that had an underlying monism, moving just a bit closer to an older way of thinking. And then Rousseau criticized materialism, and he said that indigenous people were closer to nature. Not long after him was the great Romantic movement that I referred to. But no matter our philosophies, we do have a deep conditioning in the West to be intensely anthropocentric. We put humans in the center. When we contemplate the natural world, we continue to make it all about us. How can we get closer to nature rather than rather than how are we already part of its whole. The Western worldview dichotomizes into sacred versus secular, immanent versus transcendent, natural or supernatural, black or white, a lot of either-ors in a world with infinite color. And our dominant Abrahamic religions put God as completely separate from all, in some heavenly or other than earthly world. Some of you know that I've been studying Egypt pretty closely for a good many years, and I feel pretty confident in saying that ancient Egyptians would have been unable to conceive of separate sacred and non-sacred. Probably people up to the industrial age would have thought that. The Egyptians, however, had a great many deities. Most of those were just local to their individual towns, but in nearly every case, the god or goddess was an embodiment of some natural occurrence or feature of their landscape. So Hapi was the god of the Nile, but he also was the Nile. Merit Seger was the sacred mountain. She was also a goddess. The goddess Nut was the sky, and Geb was the earth. Wepwawet, sometimes confused with Anubis, may have had the head of a jackal, but his name meant opener of the ways. And his home was a break in the mountains from the plain above a place called Abydos, which is where you find the original Osirian. That plain was an ancient royal necropolis, or burial ground, and it was far older than Giza or the Valley of the Kings. Every year, the myth of Osiris was acted out in a big procession that went out several miles across that plain and to the opening of those mountains, which was thought of as the gateway to the Duat, or the afterlife. And who would have been waiting there? Wepwawet, waiting for the soul of the deceased at that very opening in the hills to escort them into the Duat. A little closer to home for us, though still far distant in time, we've learned that many of the prehistoric remains found in the British Isles really defy our modern logic. It seems that there were stone barrows, hinges, circles, even Stonehenge, which are constructed partly with local stone, but also include stones or maybe just a big chunk, which comes from a great distance away, from mainland Europe or even Scandinavia. That same inconsistency is found in grave goods, showing that not only was there trade between the continents, or even from as far away as the Middle East, and we're talking prehistoric times here, long before we imagine, but that an item such as a stone may have represented a gift brought by a visiting dignitary to a conclave of leaders. Some people may have felt they were bringing something important with them on their journey, part of their land, which was alive. And they were gifting the Britannic people with maybe even a non-human body containing the essence or spirit of their own land. If this logic holds true, then think of the many ceremonial knives, swords, shields, and other artifacts that have been found in lakes and streams and wells and in those barrow mounds, those big earth mounds. Some of these were obviously made for decorative purpose. They were never intended to be used, say, in battle. If the materials, the natural materials, are sacred to begin with, then crafting them, say by the heating and hammering in a forge, becomes a magical act, which when the human artisans take it in hand with spiritual purpose. So, indigenous worldviews. A few years ago, I was reading Pagan Britain by Ronald Hutton, and I was deeply affected by his suggestion that ancient peoples may have feared the land as much as they feared wild animals that could kill them, or the weather, or starvation, or sickness. And in the absence of any written record or even an oral tradition from this time, we can only conjecture. But he points out that earth-moving and other monuments demonstrates that you have power over this place, that you own it. Even to build something like a mound and then systematically deconstruct it is making some kind of statement. It's possible that the ancients did some of that astounding earthwork as a way to feel control over the fearful natural world. By the way, back at Abydos, we now know that the earliest tombs and what they call tomb precincts were constructed, used for the burial rites, and then after a period of time they were deconstructed and new ones were put there. It appears that the monuments had a ritual purpose, and when that purpose was accomplished, they were ritually disassembled, or as we say in modern churches now, when we move or replace an altar with a new one, decommissioned. So again, we see the act of construction, and then in this case, deconstruction, as a demonstration of some spiritual, magical purpose. But moving beyond fear is a possible motivator. By listening to the wisdom of contemporary indigenous humans, we learn that not only do sacred places have power, they're also willing to share it. A sacred mountain, when we visit it, is not a passive geographical feature. It's participating in acts that engage us with it, and may also be engaging local flora, fauna, weather, and water features. Think of that. The mountain intends for us to visit it, eat a meal with it, make love in its embrace, and take shelter in it. It's not a passive participant in these acts. It's a mountain. They do things differently. So visiting our beautiful beaches, it's hard not to be moved by their power. It only takes a short step outside of our Cartesian mindset to feel ourselves merged with a living, pulsing earth, one that's sentient in its own non-human way. The Australian Aborigines say that we're always part of one in the other. When I stand in the surf as it's pulling back and feel the sand suck away from under my feet, I do not feel power over the ocean and surf and land. I can't mistake our mutuality. We really are part of one in the other. Universally, anthropologists find animism around the world is about relationship. An Ojibwa man was asked by an anthropologist, "Are all of these stones alive?" And the man thought for a long time, and then he replied, "Not all of them, but some are." How do you know what's alive? You have a relationship with it. We may think of nature as angry when we're faced with a Hugo or a Katrina, or restless when we have ongoing earthquakes. Did anybody feel the earthquake during the night? Yep. But we moderns call those only metaphorical descriptions. Nature can't be angry if there's nothing sacred or alive or sentient about it. In this way, we close the door to what relationship we might have with it, bringing ourselves into constant conflict with eroding beaches, tainted groundwater, deforestation, and so forth. If you've ever participated in a Native American ceremony of any kind, you will have heard American Indians use the phrase, "all my relations." Now, the first time I heard this, being a good Southerner, I thought, oh, okay, it's about honoring my ancestors, my own ancestors. Later I thought, oh, we're all connected, so all the ancestors are my relations. But the Ojibwe teach us that the world is full of people, only some of whom are human. These are all my relations. So, our own sacred places. A place is only sacred if someone pays attention to it and teaches others to do the same. That's the beginning of a relationship. And that place can have ever-widening circles of relationship, re-enchanting the world a bit at a time as we come into respectful contact with it and recognize it as a part of us and we as a part of it. Maybe we start with the pleasure of bird watching. Then we learn that some of the finches are dying of eye infections. That ecosystem includes everything from the family cat to the Roundup your neighbor uses to make his lawn look great, to the invasive non-native plants I put out a few years ago and now can't get rid of, to the squirrels that ruin my flower beds because their natural predator, the hawks, have moved on somewhere looking for a better water source during our dry weather. This is your micro ecosystem. This is your set of relationships. How many of them do you nurture? Which ones do you avoid? Which ones are you unaware of or would prefer not to be engaged with? If each member of that set of relationships was as alive as you are, how might you live with them differently? Your location here, your very congregation, is sacred to you, right? Oh, yeah. Why? You created a relationship with it. You placed your trust in it that it would be a good home. You invested money and labor and creativity to restore its latent beauty, to restore its potential. You've cared for it like a friend and invited others to participate here in a variety of ways. But this building only completes the sacredness that you have already recognized in this city and with which you have a relationship. As you look around and see more of your relations, your circles of engagement will also ripple out like waves in the water. Your relationship with this place will have far-reaching impact, ever deeper meaning. We know there have been humans interacting with this land here in South Carolina in one way or another for at least 18 to 20,000 years, maybe as many as 40,000 that archaeologists can document. Whatever happens to the generations that come after us, we want to leave them, if not a perfect world, then at least better integrated and engaged with all their relations. So if we believe or even suspect that everything is alive, what might we want to change about our behavior? Well, what about some lessons we teach our children, and which I heard in the opening words this morning? An early lesson is share. Don't take it all, but make sure everybody gets some. What does that mean in terms of not only food, but land, water, oil? What else? What about relationships? What about recognizing the human beings with whom we are connected, not just some of them? Then there's this one. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. How would we be kinder to all our non-human neighbors on the planet? How could we stop fighting with the environment and really start being a part of it? To live is to take life. That's simply the way it is. But do we have to claim that humans are different and superior and the only ones who are alive? in order to justify using natural resources. And here's another value I was taught as a child: tell the truth. What is the truth about our coexistence here? What truth do we speak to others about it? And maybe some lessons from the Scouts. Leave your campground better than when you found it. But let's go further. How does animism change the way we see ourselves? If everything is relational, how can we become more aware of those relationships? How do we nurture them? What are the boundaries of our individual self? And at what point do we merge with everything else? How do we maintain our unique identity at the same time that we embrace what we have in common? I don't have answers for you this morning. These are ongoing conversations that we should all be having with each other. And if everything is alive, how does life begin? Whoa, I wrote this several weeks before the Supreme Court decisions. Where does it come from? Darwin really upset the Western world when he published The Origin of the Species. It pushed us to weigh biology against religion. If we take a life such as hunting for food, are we simply extinguishing it, or are we returning it to the all? Leopold said that the mountain understands that the howl of the wolf may mean dinner for hungry cubs or death for the slain deer. It has the perspective of seeing the long view, the unending cycles of which what we perceive of as life is only a part. Going further down that path, what makes someone or something a person? What makes a being a god or some other entity that humans perceive as being more powerful, or at least more long-lived than we are? Is humanity the only definition of personhood? More ongoing conversations. My colleague Graham Harvey says, in learning to recognize personhood, animists are intended by those who teach them, their elders, if you will, to become better, more respectful persons. Jesus is reputed to have said, "To whom much is given, much is required." Once we come to understand the personhood of all creation, we are forever after obligated to consider how we can be better, more respectful persons. As we find ourselves living in a global rather than a local world, we have discovered that globalism really flattens the world and makes us all the same. But we actually participate in multiple worlds. Our lives are simultaneously local and global, physical and spiritual. A new animist perspective values our myriad distinctive cultures, traditions, and ideas, while understanding that we have life in common. When we expose the sacred in the world, people begin to do things to make the world, our lives, our relationships with everything and each other better. Our conversations about the questions I've raised can move that process along. Humans are inherently communal. Even our individuality is communal, because individual is defined in contrast with our place in the community, right? Creation of space such as the one we're in today is life-giving because it allows potential to be realized. You all chose and marked out this space, making it a place of relating. I close today by challenging you to open your hearts to the many ways the world is alive, and to recognize the infinite relationships you're already in. May this faith family endure as a sacred place which shows the way for our community to respectful, joyous living, always part of one and the other. So may it be. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. That's given us a lot of food for thought in how we perceive everything around us. Makes us go home and think a little bit here. Jubilee is a unique place. We do offer many different activities. We explore many different ideas here. But to do it, it does take support. You won't hear us talk about the prosperity theory. No, you're not going to hear that. We're not going to make any grand promises that if you put your money in the basket that everything's going to be hunky-dory next week. We don't make those promises. But what we do promise is that if you do donate to Jubilee, we will be very responsible with what you give us, and that we will use it to keep this facility open, and so that we can keep exploring new ideas, and that we can make this a center for spiritual and creative activities. So we would love for you to donate. You can donate here. You can go to Jubilee.com. I believe Jim has the site up on the screen for you. You can make a donation just straight online for us. So please consider contributing to Jubilee so that we can keep this going. We're going to do a talk back. And if you're online, you're welcome to join us. Just go to the website and you'll find the link for our Zoom. And we're going to do a talk back. Holly will be with us to answer questions. And so this is a good opportunity to, find out a little bit more and explore a little bit further. And we'll be right back here next week at the same spot. So do come back and join us. Look at the activities for the week and consider coming and join us for one of the activities. And we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week of sharing your love and your light with everyone around. Thank you.